Hey, it's Friday, October 30th, and you are here at Litvak Leadership Live. And I'm here with my good friend, I determined today, of 20 years, the one, the only, Brad Wiseman. How are you, Brad?
Hey, Sean, I'm doing real good. How are you doing?
I am having a great day. It's been a busy day, but Fridays are supposed to be busy. Every day should be a busy day, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, maybe.
So Brad and I were just reminiscing before we started the show. And yes, my cousin Sari is here. Sari's one of our biggest fans. Her and Kenny Mayberry, I think, are number one and number two, depending upon the day of the week. And Brad and I were just reminiscing that we had met sitting at the table for PTA when my son was in kindergarten and his son was, I would guess at that time, would be in first grade, maybe, because I think Alex is a year older than Joshua.
I think that's right.
And I'll tell this story and then we'll get into questions. And, Brad, like myself, had a bit of a reputation about him when we lived in Harrison County. And he was known as the evil Brad Wiseman. And I remember sitting across the table from this guys. We're talking about having a festival to raise money for the itty bitty, teeny weeny, small private community school our children were in. And we needed to raise money so our tuition wouldn't go up. Or so they could pay the bills. And all I could think is, well, this guy's not evil. He just wants to get things done. I kind of want to get things done. And Brad's bride is here. Hey. Here we go. Here for the tough questions, so she can say whether I was fair or unfair.
Or to keep me honest, one or the other.
So Brad, what do you remember about that first interaction that we had? Is it more of a haze like it is to me?
Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking this guy is intense. Honestly, I remember thinking this guy, he and I can get some things done. And I'm sure you recall, I think there were 19, 20, 25 students max in the school.
Yeah.
From kindergarten to sixth grade. And I think we ended up raising like $12,000 or $13,000 in that.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, I mean, you put in a ton of work and effort into it.
As did you.
I was right behind you. But I remember Greg Carter was absolutely the principal there at the school.
Yeah.
The pastor was blown away by how successful. We just kept coming up with different ideas. Well, let's try this. And he's like, nah, I don't know that that's going to work. And we would throw it into the auction and it worked. And if I remember correctly, you donated a car.
I did donate my car. I had been planning to get a new car. Yeah. And I'll be honest, God told me, you don't need to trade it in, just donate it.
Right. Yeah.
Donate the car. Yeah. Good old Cornerstone Christian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Laura Payne is here. Come on now, Cornerstone Christian. So yeah, that was quite the event. So Brad has gone from parent to coach to umpire. Somewhere in the middle there, we both served on the South Harrison Athletic Corporation board, and now you're a council member in Harrison County, which just kind of blows me away.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, as you've gone through this progression over the years, what has stood out to you that you've learned?
Wow, that's a great question. Honestly, and I'm going to get accused of being the politician here, but just honest. I mean, and that's it. If people ask a question, give them a straight answer. And I use that same philosophy at work. I'm a supervisor at my work, and I've got 24 people that report to me. And, I just tell them in the interview, I'm going to be extremely honest with you. I'm going to do everything I can to help you move along in your career. I'm very proud. I've been at my company for 23 years. And in the last years, I've been in the position I'm in. I've helped probably close to 100 people get promoted from my position out into the company. But I just start off in the beginning and just say, I'm going to tell you what your strengths are. I'm going to tell you what your weaknesses are. And the weaknesses hurt to hear, but it is what it is. And I would rather be upfront with you and tell you, here's your area of development. And And sometimes you have to have that conversation with them that, this just is not the job for you. And most of the time they know it, and it's
Oh yeah.
better for everybody.
It's so what was it like going from coach to umpire? Because you look on the outside looking in, you enjoyed being an umpire, but when you really enjoyed it was when your son was an umpire too, and the two of you would umpire games together.
Yeah, well, and so now we Alex and my brother Jason and I officiate basketball as well. And we do varsity games, and we just have a great time going out traveling. Just the other day, we went all the way up to South Spencer, Rising Sun, Belterra.
Oh, okay.
And we just, it's good to catch up with my brother. It's good to spend time with my son, and we just ride and we tell stories. Right now, we're talking all about deer hunting because that season's about to come in. We're getting ready for that. But we just have a good time. But the most eye-opening thing to me was going from a coach to an umpire is, wow, it's not that simple, and the view from the dugout or the bench isn't as good as you think it is. So,
well, and I remember going from parent to coach much against my will. There's no other parent to do it. And I'm like, I never played baseball. They're like, yeah, but you got a big mouth. You can do it.
Right.
And then going back to being parent and just hazing the umpires, you especially, because it's like, come on.
And the hardest thing for me from a coaching aspect was coaching Alex up until high school, and then having to go to the stands and watch. That was, he had a fabulous coach. Nick Tremaine was his coach. He did a great job. So that made it easier. But man, it was hard to sit there and say, let the coach do his thing, because as you know, you don't always agree with what the coach is saying or what the coach is telling his son to do, but he's calling the shots. So
absolutely. So who inspires you?
I was thinking about that this morning. I think my dad really inspires me. My dad has always taught me to be honest and have integrity with what you do. And most importantly, he's always taught me that, if you start something, finish it. And that was something with Alex growing up. We always told him in school when he first came, the first time he came to me and said he wanted to play a sport, it was basketball. Hey, no problem. If you start it, you're going to finish it. No big deal. But then his freshman year in high school, he decided he wanted to play tennis. And I was like, we didn't even own a racket. And I said, where is this coming from? He said, I just want to give it a try. And I said, if you start it, you're going to finish it. And if you hate it, you're still going to finish it. And then his junior year, cross country. And I said, are you really sure you want to run up and down hills for 3 miles? But so that's who I really look up to, is my dad. And
so how do you inspire others?
I try to lead by example. I feel like I've always taken pride in the fact that at work anyway, and no matter what job I've ever had, I want my people to know that I'm willing to jump in and work side by side with them, elbow to elbow. If we're in a ditch, I'm going to do whatever we have to do to help get out of it. And I want them to trust me and know that I'm right there with them.
So what's it like when, you're there in the council room or council chambers? Because I'd only been there, I think, a couple times. One time I went because there was a rumor that South Harrison, and you weren't on the council then, that South Harrison pool was going to be closed. This was years ago when I still lived in Laconia. And I got up there and I had a very impassioned explanation as to why they shouldn't close, and telling them where they could cut other things to pay for the pool, and how important it was to the community. And I think it was Terry Miller looked at me and he goes, your facts are wrong. And I looked at him, I said, well, why don't you prove it to me and explain it now? And then they went for it. So how do you handle when people come to the council chambers and either the word's gotten out about things we were talking about that they aren't supposed to know yet, or B, boy, this person's nuts. How do you handle that?
Well, fortunately,
and it's two separate questions.
Right. So in the 2 years that I've been on council, we've not really had instances like that. Now, there's been instances where People have come in requesting money for things that we just simply, we just can't do. You try to talk to the people, you try to explain why. Obviously, they're very passionate about whatever it is that they're coming in to talk about. And I try to put myself in their shoes and see where they're coming from, understand why it is that they're asking for what they're asking, and just see if it can be done. But, there are times it can't be. On a side note, the pool just went through a major renovation last year, and it was never rumored to be shut down, but they had a crack in the seal, and they just basically renovated it all and reopened it July 4th this year. And it's amazing. It's really got colored lights and a great place spot for the kids to go to. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
When you're in South Harrison County, I'm not going to say there's not a lot to do, but you don't see a lot of pools.
Oh, no.
So that's an important pool.
Not many pools.
So what kind of training do you embrace?
Hands-on. I mean, I feel like, to me, the best way to train somebody, or to be trained, you can give me manual after manual after manual and tell me to read through it, and I might skim through it. If my wife's still watching, she'll agree with that. When I get the instructions, I'm looking at the picture. That's, and that's the kind of the training that I like to receive, as well as I just feel like, the best way to do it is to jump in on it and go. So
if someone is aspiring to be in politics one day, what do you think? How should they educate themselves to be prepared for it?
I think the important thing to do is really study the position, because when you say politics, it could be school board, it could be council. Right. So, there's a wide variety of things that you could get into to say I'm into politics. I think you need to study the position and just see what's going on, and see if you're satisfied, or if you agree with what's happening in that position and how it's being handled, and just educate yourself to what's involved, to the requirements of it, and what your duties are going to be.
So when you look at coaching, umpiring, and sitting on the council, which one was the most political? And I'm not using political in the, politics type vernacular, but, there's the politics of being a coach. There's the politics of being an ump.
Yeah. Really, and this may shock some people, but really the officiating, umpiring, and the politics of it, because you're putting yourself out there trying to find games. And if an athletic director doesn't want you to come back, or isn't happy with what's going on, they're not going to have you back. So, you've got to really establish a relationship there with that athletic director and the coach to some degree, even though that's more difficult because you got the coach in your ear during a game. But yeah, I would say probably umpiring, officiating. So
why is Kenny Mayberry saying you're a good man?
I'll have him conference in. I don't know. I try to be a good man, like I said earlier, I try to give everybody a straight answer and give them an honest answer. And I try, if I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I do my best to make sure that I get it done.
Yeah. I've always thought you were incredibly fair, even when I didn't agree with your calls. And I'm not sure if you and I were actually coaching at the same time. I know we were on the SHAC board, South Harrison Athletic Corporation, for those of you wanting to know what is a SHAC, SHAC. And you were like myself, either very excited at times or decided to be the calming factor, because those board meetings would get, I don't know, do the council meetings get as animated when you guys are just in session without the public as the SHAC board meetings would get?
Not as animated as you and I would get coaching. Okay. Council is made up of 7 members, and we all kind of have our opinions and we share them. And I think the current group we have does a very good job of voicing your opinion, giving your concerns, but not taking it personal. And that's the key to this. Go back to the political question earlier about, don't take it personally, because somebody told me when I was running, they said, you need to keep in mind, you can do 100 great things and you do one thing that the majority of the public doesn't agree with. And 5 years from now, those 100 things, they're not going to remember. But that one thing you did, they'll tag you to it every time.
Well, and isn't it like that in business or in your jobs too? A constituent needs you now.
Now we're good. I don't know.
Okay.
If it was
I mean, I've been in the janitorial industry for more years than I care to admit. And you can have everything going great, and miss the wrong garbage can 2 days in a row. It's like all of a sudden, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Do you not know how to do this?
Right.
It's like, oh, but we've gone 6 months with like nothing. And okay, we missed the CEO secretary's garbage can twice, hey, I mean, people tend to focus on the negative. How in your role, in any of the roles that you've had, but I really want to focus on the council. How do you get people to focus on the positive?
I mean, I just, when it's a situation where there's disagreements or there's questions, I just try to be very clear about my opinion on it, why I feel like we're going to do what we're going to do, and let it go at that. And then if there's additional questions, just do the best I can to answer those questions for them. Steve
Johns wants to know, are you related to Carl Wiseman?
I don't know if he's from Harrison County. There's a good possibility we are.
Carl was a supervisor at Airco Carbide. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. But again, there's three strains of Wisemans in Harrison County. Two of them are related if you go far enough back, and that's the side that I'm on. And then there's the Wisemans that own most of Court, and I'm not related to them.
but it wouldn't have been bad to be related to them.
No, it wouldn't have been bad at all.
So how has your vision changed or adjusted over the years?
I mean, I think it just happens with, we'll call it maturity and experience. I mean, what was important to you when you were 25 years old isn't as important today. And that goes with, your professional and personal intertwine. I mean, you can say leave your emotions at the door, leave your personal life at the door when you go to work, but the realization of it is it doesn't. And, what was important to me when I was 28, 29 was I got to get home and get Alex to a T-ball game. Today, I mean, that's not as important. So that's not a priority anymore. But I think your vision changes based on where you are in life.
So looking at that, and what you just said, people talk about work-life balance. I think that's baloney, just my opinion. I think it's work-life integration.
Sure.
That, and my friend Eric Bam, who was on here earlier, I'm not sure if he's still there. Eric is all about pizza and everything pizza. That, you integrate everything together, that we don't live in silos. We need to be a whole person.
Yeah.
How has that worked? And I see you like that in your posts. How has that worked out to your benefit when you were running for office?
I mean, I think you just kind of take that same philosophy into this. I mean, there's times people call me at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night with questions about whatever's going on, be it a road project that needs to get done, the pool when that was going on. The hot topic right now is internet access throughout the county. So, I mean, I may be at dinner with Kim. Well, and phone rings, you answer that call. And if you tell somebody you'll get some information and call them back, you better get the information and you better call them back, because if you give them your word you're going to, you better
do it. I remember, and so in internet access is definitely a hot button in Harrison County. I remember, as I think many people here know, we homeschooled our children, and when our son was entering high school, the word that I got from my wife was, "We need high speed, figure it out." And I had discovered that we were within the distance to the node, but I needed someone to do something at my house. And I went and sat outside the Verizon building in Corridon, banging on the door until someone would talk to me to get them to come to my house to switch one little filter around. You know what I'm talking about? How that filter's got to be flipped?
Yeah.
And boom, I had high speed. How much of Harrison County doesn't have high speed at this time?
I believe the number's about 40 to 50%.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's high. I mean, it definitely is something I'm looking into. We're working on. The biggest problem is it's not something as simple as throw a couple $1 million at it and boom, wave a stick and everybody has it. There's regulations. We've got a company that's in Harrison County that's working to get internet access to people. They're not doing it as quickly as everybody would like, but in this society of put it in the microwave and it's done in 30 seconds, everybody wants it right now. And I get that. I understand that.
Oh yeah.
So, it's definitely something that over the next 6 months, I feel like the council is going to have to look at along with the commissioners. The commissioners will make the decision. The council funds it, but I think we've got to work together to get something going so that we can get the access more readily available throughout the county.
Well, and at one point, everyone was saying that 5G was going to be faster than high speed, but 5G seems to kind of have disappeared at this point. No one's really talking about it anymore.
See, it's funny you say that because one of our council members is actually still saying that he thinks everything that happens in the next 2 or 3 years will be irrelevant 2 to 3 years from now because 5G will take over and it will all be satellite based.
Interesting. So, okay, I'll be interested to see what happens. So, where do you abide for strength and calm?
To the lady that chimed in here at the beginning to say hello, my wife. I tell her all the time, and I mean it. I would be lost without her. I mean, she's the voice. She's the one that sits right here and says, "Don't say that. Don't say this, and you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that." Sometimes I listen to the voice on the other side, and then it's a long ride home. But it is what it is.
My wife has a word that I have learned to embrace. It's called moderation.
Yes.
Maybe that's a word you can identify with. I have a feeling.
Yes.
Moderation in response. Moderation. Learning to listen. So, how have you gone from wisdom and gained understanding and then taken that understanding and applied it to knowledge to help people?
Oh, wow. That's a great. How have I taken wisdom and applied it to knowledge to help people? Back to my work, part of my duties are to mentor people and train them and help them become supervisors. My company employed about 800 people. So there was a good opportunity for advancement, as I alluded to earlier. I just, once people get to a certain level, I just try to work with them one-on-one and mentor them and just show them, I bring them into situations, this is a decision that we're going to make together. It's something that when or if you become a supervisor or a manager, even outside of this company, you're going to be faced with these same types of things. This is my philosophy. This is how I handle it. But the key thing is, just because I do it this way doesn't mean it's the right way. And that most important thing for any leader is you have to be willing to admit and understand and accept you're not always right. And you may have what you think is the greatest idea in the world. And on paper, it may sound fantastic, but when you implement it, it may be the worst thing in the world. And you need to be able to own up to that and say, hey, we tried this. It didn't work. It was my fault. We're going to fix it. And that's what I try to instill in the people that I'm mentoring or developing or helping as well is, be willing to say I'm wrong.
Have you run into any situations in those things that you do in the public eye where people are whipping out their phones and, going live or taking video of the interaction?
Not yet. No, thankfully.
Well, that's good. I really thought you were going to have a horror story for me there.
No, not yet.
Does the Harrison County Council stream their meetings so people can see them?
It's not streamed, but it's recorded, and then it's posted shortly after the meeting's over. So you've got the ability to go out there and view it and listen.
So what do you think needs to be done in the communities to help us all with and it's kind of my opinion how social media has made people think that they're behind a wall and they can say anything and do anything and their opinion is right and it doesn't matter what anyone else has to say because, well, it's their opinion. How can we educate people in the communities to be civil again?
Wow. I mean,
and I'm not talking about civil unrest. I'm talking about just conversation.
Sean, I mean, I think a lot of that starts at home. I mean, I just think that's just kind of how you're raising your children and how you're bringing them up. And I think a lot of what you see today is the result of exactly what you're talking about. Children seeing that, my kid's not wrong or this isn't wrong and you're right and I'll fix this. And that's a great question that I don't know how to answer.
Has there been any kind of civil unrest in Harrison County?
No, not that I'm aware of.
No demonstrations or anything that you guys have had to contend with?
No, not really. I mean, there's been, when everything was going on in Louisville, there were a few little things that popped up here and there, but nothing like what was happening in Louisville. There's some people that sit downtown now with, first it was anti-Trump signs and then a downtown cordon on the square. And that was I guess matched by some Trump supporters who sat down there with signs that say honk if you like Trump, those types of things. But nothing newsworthy, nothing that Wave 3 ever came over here to interview people about. So,
one of the things that I really enjoyed when we lived in Harrison County was in Corydon, how they would have light up the square on Thanksgiving. And, everyone would be down there and people would be shopping in the little shops and there'd be people selling brownies and stuff and, just fun things like that. Is that going to happen this year?
I don't know. We have not, it's not come to council. I know our health department has done their best to kind of keep the public gatherings down, keep them to a minimum. I've not heard any discussion if that's going to happen or not. It's outside, so I mean, I think that would tend to help it some, but I've not heard discussion yet as to whether or not that's going to be a go or a no go.
It's funny the things that you just remember over the years, and I remember taking our daughter Elizabeth into one of the shops. She and this was our thing to do. We would go and we went to go get her mother a gift. My wife Lauren a gift, and in this one particular shop, we bought this heavy something, maybe it was a vase, and they gave it to us in like a tissue paper bag. So you had to hold the bag from the bottom. It was like, okay, what's the point of this? I was like, okay, I'm not going to complain. It's the holidays. I'm going to bite my tongue and just march on. Right. So other than the Wi-Fi issue and internet for Harrison County, what do you think is one of the greatest challenges facing Harrison County at this time?
Right now, it's just dealing with the obvious with COVID. I mean, the council before I became a part of it, and as the 2 years I've been on it, had done a very good job of being very conservative, of having money set aside for a rainy day. And, as I before, it's pouring buckets now. The casino, is our mainstream of revenue for the county. And they were shut down for 3.5 months completely.
Right.
So, we just finished our budget this year. We actually just had the second reading to make it official to ratify it last Monday. And for the first time, I had to dip into those funds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just that some to balance the budget and then some to have for things that are going to come up. We're hopeful that we don't have to go back to it. But if we do, we've done a good job, council members before me, of getting funds established, and they're there for this time. Hopefully, prayerfully, we can get through it without having to go back to it, but we'll see.
Yeah, the boat, well, it's not the boat anymore now, it's the casino. Right. The complex does support Harrison County in a rather large way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, as you know, we've reached 30 minutes, shockingly, already with conversation. So let me ask you, as people look back on this conversation, or if they're just popping in right now for the tail end of it, because, you know, both things happen.
Sure.
What do you want people to take away from this? What do you want them to say? Boy, that Brad Wiseman, when he said this, it had an impact on me.
Oh, wow. When he said Sean talked him into doing this, they had no idea he could do it. How about that?
You know,
just in all, I'm a genuine person. You know, I mean, I'm a Harrison County resident. I've been here all but 4 years of my life. I'm proud to say I'm from Harrison County, and I want to do everything I can to make it a better place. And that's really why I got involved in council in the first place. Because like you, 5 years ago, if somebody would have told me, hey, you're going to be on council, I would have laughed and said, no, that's probably not my cup of tea. But there was a vacancy coming open. The person that had this position I'd heard was going to step down, and I reached out to them. He said, yes, that's accurate. And I felt like he had done a really good job. Sam Day, I felt like he had done a good job, and I wanted to continue to see this part of the county go the direction it was going. Name in the hat, and here I am.
See, and when I heard you were running for council, it did not surprise me at all. I was like, this is the natural progression. This makes great sense. So, well, look, thank you so much for being my guest here on the show today. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have too. And I know people got a lot. Oh, you got more to say. Go ahead.
Hey, real quick, I'm going to see if I can take you back. Do you remember?
Oh, my. 8 and under Cal Ripken. Yeah, in Laconia.
That's right. That was the shirt. That was the year you and I ran the state tournament down there, and we designed that shirt, and we thought we were going to sell 400 of them, and we sold about 150.
Yeah, we had a lot of extra shirts. It was kind of scary.
I still have a couple of those. I wear them when I'm taking walks or whatever. But doing some laundry last night, I helped my wife fold it, and I saw that. I'm like, I've got to show that to Sean. He will absolutely.
Hey, if you've got an extra large, I'd be interested. So, all right, Brad, thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate you being on the show. And hey, if you enjoyed this, go on over to YouTube. You can hit like here on Facebook too, but go on over to YouTube where this is also, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll be notified of other interviews. We do this Monday through Friday at 3 p.m., and I'd love to have you as a subscriber. So everyone, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye now.